Welcome to the Darkstream, Voxday, voxday.net, and unauthorized.tv. Thanks for firing it up. We have unauthorized chat live. We have DLive chat rolling. Looks like we're not having streaming issues tonight, so sorry about that the other evening. But anyhow, not seeing any chats from DLive yet, so I don't know what's up there. But let me know. Let me know if audio's good, video's good. There we go. Well, welcome to another edition of Stupid Question Day. I didn't really have anything particularly to talk about tonight. I've been, elbows deep in all of the Sea of Skulls continuity and typo corrections. Got reports in from the early readers. They seem to generally quite like it a lot. A few folks seem to feel like it was a tad on the dark side, which I thought was mildly amusing. I don't know why that would be surprising at all in any way, shape, or form, especially if, considering they'd all read A Throne of Bones before. But anyhow, it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm actually hoping to get it out possibly this week. Thank you, Pillow Vendor. He says, congrats on becoming a top streamer on DLive. I think it's probably a lot easier since Owen got banned. I don't know, do they still have a lot of streamers on DLive? To be honest, I don't pay attention to all of the, various platform wars and so forth. All I know is that the numbers there don't exactly compare with, say, YouTube. But it's still nice that Owen is back on DLive. Okay. So, and Jesse Lee Peterson too. That's cool. Am I still beating them? I can't imagine that. Owen's Bears and his general following are so much more massive than mine. It's mildly amusing to think that, however briefly, I might rank ahead of him on DLive. That's funny. So anyhow, to be honest, I have absolutely no idea how many followers I have on DLive at all. The thing is, the numbers game only matters if you are living on the advertising model, and we're not. So it doesn't really mean much to us. The only thing that really matters materially is how many subscribers we have. Okay, 6K on DLive. So that's interesting, just because when I was on YouTube, I think I had around 30,000. So 6K is not bad if you compare it to YouTube. Ironworker Bear said he enjoyed Altar of Hate. Thanks, Ironworker Bear. What was your favorite story? I'm curious. Those stories were written over a period of close to 23 years. Yes, Altar of Hate is the collection. It's a collection of short stories. I think, actually, it goes back even longer than that, because I think I started writing The Lesser Evil. I don't even know, to be honest. I have no idea. It's at least 22 years old. But West by God Bear says 6K is good considering the average person has no clue DLive even exists. That's true. That's definitely true. But I think it's good to support these smaller platforms and so forth. I mean, I think it's good not to be on YouTube. I understand why people are on YouTube, but uh, I'm really happy that YouTube kicked me off and kicked Owen off because the freedom that unauthorized permits us, and not just what we've done already, not just what you've seen already, but the possibilities it creates for future projects and stuff is massive. You know, I mean, we're at around 6K, 7K subscribers on unauthorized, but if we can grow that to 10 and eventually to 25,000, the combination of that will probably the combination of that with the developments in AI technology are going to be phenomenal. Ironworker Bear says Shinjuku Satan, which is, he says it's the most interesting. And that was the newest story. That was the one I wrote for uh, the 40th anniversary of Cyberpunk. And I was attempting to do that. I, I have 5 more viewers than Owen on D Live. That's funny. Take that, Owen. Take that, Big Bear. You can give me my bear name now. I think it'll be Big Bear Slayer Bear. I'm gonna hear that one. I'm gonna hear about that one in the future. I just know it. Um, I was with you when you went till you went against Crowder, Big Bear. Um, let's see here. We do have a question though. A stupid question. Will any Arab countries come to the aid of the Palestinians? Well, that's the $40 billion question, isn't it? Um, it doesn't appear like it at the moment. If they are intending to, I don't know what they're waiting for. On the other hand, Turkey is using some, absolutely vicious rhetoric talking about putting Netanyahu on trial for war crimes. Um, and certainly the the media press, the global media press, is in full effect. I even saw this ridiculous uh, this ridiculous claim that uh, Israel had resumed activities because they'd come under terrorist attack and um, and therefore had to end the ceasefire. I mean, it's such total nonsense. Uh, how can anyone believe that? But it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but it's too soon to tell. It's just too soon to tell. If they hired you as the new Budweiser CEO with no strings attached, could you turn things around? I think so. I don't think that my actions to turn things around would be very well accepted, and they would obviously be very, very strenuously resisted by all of the SJWs in the various executive and managerial positions. But the thing is that when you have an entire career of being very, very accustomed to operate on a shoestring, and you actually prefer operating on a shoestring because it keeps you focused, it keeps you honest, it keeps you, um, you know, really able to react quickly and to make uh, the necessary changes. I mean, just like we were talking on the last stream about the Amazon situation, and at the time when other publishers that were our size all went under, um, and when even the mid-size publishers are struggling. You know, companies like Tor and Bain are doing very, very poorly. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how much longer those uh, those publishers even last. And yet, Castelia has literally never ever been stronger. Not even in the height of the ebook boom in 2016, 2017. I mean, we had really good years from 2015 through 2017. You know, I mean, it's not like my books were uh, selling like, say, Nick Cole's. Although if we had gotten out our Star Wars, not Star Wars, um, at the same time or before they did, we might have been able to do some similar numbers and so forth. Probably not, because I'm pretty sure that Amazon had its thumb on the scale even then. But if you look at how well SJW's Always Lie was doing, if you look at how well even SJW's Double Down did, or the audiobook for A Throne of Bones, some of Milo's stuff, we were flying, I wouldn't say high on Amazon, but we were doing really, really well. And we're doing better than that now. We're doing better than that because so many of you and so many of our other readers and everything are happy to go direct. And that's the key. So the point of that is that to turn around a company like Budweiser, where they've completely shot themselves in the foot, alienated their old customers, is going to require some very, very hard and ruthless decisions that nobody who's not fully on board with the idea that their previous direction was disastrous is going to be able to make, much less survive. So, but that's my opinion. I've been, I've occasionally been, in circles around the top of high-level executive stuff. A lot of people don't know, but I was on the board of a television station that was sold to Clear Channel. I was asked to join the board of a large computer video game company that you guys would know of. I turned it down. It's probably the right decision. Sometimes I wonder, but so I understand how these things work. The fundamental problem I have now is that I'm set in my ways. I have no interest in going into an office and working any sort of like office 8:30 to 5:30 job. So that's not going to happen. But Budweiser could be turned around. The probability that will happen approaches zero because nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing has changed. Do you have any insights on the Venezuela-Guyana escalations bubbling up? I don't think so. One thing I think it would behoove those of us who are talking heads of some sort, public intellectuals of some sort, would really be wise to do is to stop opinionating on things that we don't know anything about. I know very, very little about Venezuela. I know even less about Guyana. Now, obviously I'm intelligent, and obviously I recognize that this has something to do with the ongoing World War III. This is World War III that is being fought right now. It's just that right now it's mostly being fought in the form of proxy war. It's mostly what the Chinese call what are they called? Unlimited, unrestricted warfare. It's not the classic line everybody up and bash each other sort of thing. It's not the classic Western way of war, but it's also not the classic Eastern way of war. It's a very new and different kind of warfare, which is why it's so hard to reasonably predict even where the next front is going to be. But if there is something going on in South America, I would presume that the two primary acting parties are Clown World / the US military and China. And the whole concept of the death of 1,000 cuts is intrinsically Chinese. I would assume that that is a significant part of the strategy being utilized by the Chinese to help bring down the US global empire. It's kind of funny. Back when I was in college, it was usually the left that would complain about the US imperialists and talk about the US being an empire. And, of course, like good little conservative parrots, we would all say things, well, the US can't be an empire. It doesn't have an emperor. It's just ridiculous. So, anyhow, I'm sorry I can't give a better answer, but that's an honest one. A pillow vendor believes light beer needs to die. It is not real beer. Look, I don't want to alienate my bear friends, but I, in the interest of unrestricted candor, I have to tell you, I'm not really concerned with what sort of peasant swill is swilled, I guess. I'm just not a beer guy, I do not understand why anyone would drink beer when there's wine available. So, but I absolutely salute and support all the Bud Light boycotts and all that sort of thing. And in fact, we actually were looking into possibly doing some sort of Castalia beer, believe it or not. It was just because we happened to be friends with somebody, actually 3 different guys who have their own breweries, and one of them in particular, I am assured by the beer drinkers in my circle, is quite good. So I've actually had it. I mean, I will say that I liked it better than your average Carlsberg or whatever, Cardinal as they have here. But I don't regard myself as, I don't think my opinion of a beer is valid. What's a good bottle of red we can get on the shelves here in the States? I don't know, because I don't know. I mean, for example, pretty much none of the Swiss wines are exported outside of the country. So, all the Zanini Merlots, which are fantastic, you can't get them. The Spanish wines, there's probably some, but the correct way to do it. I mean, you don't need you don't really need a recommendation per se for a specific wine. The thing to do is just go out and buy 10 different wines of the sort of grape that you're interested in. So, for example, if you go and you pick up 10 different Spanish Tempranelos, or 10 different Spanish Riojas or Priorats, and then you try them all, and then you'll start to you'll start to develop the ability to taste the differences, And everybody's got different preferences. Conundrum Bear says, we just need reassurance that status has nothing to do with your wine versus beer preference. It has nothing whatsoever. You know, I mean, I am, as I was told recently, a natural elitist. That's the way that I am. But that has nothing to do. That might affect, to some extent, some of my wine versus wine opinions. For example, I am not a fan of white wine in any way, shape, or form. Which is funny because I have friends who are professionally run vineyards that are mostly white, and they all know my opinion. And they tend to find my bias to be amusing. But it is funny because Space Bunny likes her beer from time to time, and usually, like if we'll be at a restaurant or something, especially when we would go to a restaurant in the States, I'd order a glass of red, she'd order a beer, and the waiters would inevitably put it on the wrong, give it to the wrong person. So she would get pretty annoyed when once we realized this would happen, of course. That's when I started ordering the blue Hawaiians and asking to make sure they put an umbrella in it. She did not enjoy that. However, I will say that one of my personal favorites, and just to give you an indication of how seriously I take the issue, when we got married, we went out to Napa Valley and we literally covered the entire valley up and down, and we hit every single vineyard over the course of a week. Hey, we have a super chat. Thank you, Jack. Hey, Vox, when's the SSH book coming out? Looking forward to buying. It's going to come out next year. When next year, I don't know. I think fall is probably most likely. I've still got plenty left to write, but it's a pretty easy one to write. So just putting the finishing touches on A Sea of Skulls. We'll get the ebook out, in a week. We'll get the you guys will spot 100 typos that all the proofreaders and all the early readers somehow managed to miss, including me. We'll clean those up, then we'll do the print edition, and then we'll do the leather editions. Did you decide to add illustrations? No, we're not going to. Those we'll probably reserve for the leather, just because it'll take too long. And also, the leather is divided into 2 volumes. Adding more illustrations to what is already going to be more than a 900-page book just seems like a bad idea. Did Psychosonic ever play with Faith No More? No. Psychosonic never really played with anyone. All of our shows were just us. The only show that we were actually scheduled to play, we missed because Paul, our lead singer, wanted to stay at a different hotel because he brought his girlfriend along instead of staying with everybody else. So he got lost and got there late, and we missed our slot right after Temple of the Dog. So we were supposed to play with Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Ministry, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Jesus and Mary Chain, and I believe it was Ice Cube. So that was at the Chicago Lollapalooza, and it was pointed out to us that we were the first band that had ever blown off Lollapalooza. So that was pretty retarded, but c'est la vie. Yanni says, it's not unauthorized, but I could have sworn I saw a notification for the next big battle. Was that one aborted? That one actually just didn't work. The problems we were having with the stream, the problems we were having with the chat, actually manifested by not letting basically by corrupting the automatic upload. I do have it recorded, but I just decided, you know what? Let's hold off on. We're gonna hit that one again. Uh, I've got more and more data, um, and we'll have more and more stuff to talk about. So I'm gonna hit that one again when the time is right, rather than upload it. In regards to beer, I have a brother-in-law that likes, what's it say? IPAs, kale, and Swiss chard. Some people just like things that taste bad. Well, beer, wine, all these things, they're acquired tastes. I remember somebody was, oh, here's a question. Peated scotch, yay or nay? I would say nay. I don't really like hard alcohol. I drank plenty of it in college, and um, it's just not my thing. It was kind of funny. Two of my housemates decided that they were going to become Scotch guys. I remember one of them opening up some Glenfiddich or whatever. One of their fathers had brought it back from Scotland, and so they decided this is the perfect evening, and they lit up their cigars, and they poured their tumblers. I remember one of them, taking a reasonable sip, and not only did he make a face, his entire body just reacted negatively to it, and he kind of thrashed around a little bit. And then he said, "Smooth." So, speaking of music, perhaps Cordal's most recent boost. Uh, I don't have anything set up right now, so I'll have to do that. I'll have to do that some other evening. Um, to be honest, I haven't been thinking about music at all while I've been trying to wrap up Sea of Skulls. I tend to get real. I mean, as pretty much everybody in my life recognizes, and uh, to some extent finds annoying, when I'm in the final stages of getting a book done and out, um, I'm pretty single-minded. That's why I haven't been streaming much or even posting as much as I normally do. I would really like to get that book out um, properly and soon. Do you ever use latex for formatting large works of writing? I do not, but Castelia does. One of the reasons why we're able to do as much as we do with a very lean and small team is because we have a custom system that makes use of latex. Um, so we do most of our books that way. Some of our books we do using InDesign or a facsimile thereof. Ledrick says, "Hey Vox, you said you drove a Porsche in your younger days, but never which model. You strike me as a 944 kind of guy." Just to be clear, in speaking of status, in the Porsche world, uh, especially back in the 90s and so forth, it was 911, 944, 924. Um, and so, let's see. Um, it says, so anyhow, what I drove was a 944 turbo. Um, I I wanted to get a 911. I was leaning towards a 911, but I went and test drove it, and the 911s had rear engines, and their fronts were really light. And at the time, I was buying a used car, and the 911s at the time had a problem where if you hit the corners hard enough, you could actually feel the front of the car starting to come up off the ground. They didn't corner very well. Now, I really liked the 944s when they came out. I thought they were really cool. but their performance was not good. So I had no interest in the regular 944. But the guy saw how I was driving the 911, and I'm a good driver. I mean, I don't tend to speed a lot or anything, but when I want to drive hard, I'm pretty good. And so he said, you should try the turbo. And it was kind of funny because you first drive it, and it's not impressive at all, you know? And the reason is that the turbo doesn't kick in until you hit 3,500 RPM. But man, when you do, I mean, it was like, it was literally a turbo boost. It was like a cartoon. It would literally slam you in the back hard. And it was fast. It was really fast. And so, but the thing I liked best about it wasn't actually the speed, but the 944 turbos had a slightly flared body that was a little bit wider than the 944. And whatever they did, I don't know how they had it designed, but I swear when you would take a corner, or if you'd go up a cloverleaf or something, you could exit a highway without slowing down. I mean, it was like being on a motorcycle. The thing could corner so well, and you would actually feel like instead of feeling like the car was going to like go out of control, it felt like the car would suck down to the ground, and just the tighter you went, the more it seemed to like it. Interestingly enough, now Space Bunny's cousin is a 911 guy. He's had two that I know of, and there were a lot of there have been over the years there have been a lot of jibes about 911 versus 944 turbo. But what was interesting is that we realized it was actually probably for me the right decision, because he was telling me that in the cars of that era, the 930, which is essentially a turbo version of the 911, was known as the dentist killer, because the combination of that lack of control on the front with the high impact, the 3,500 turbo kicking in, is that what would happen is these 50 whatever year old men who would buy these cars, because 930s were very expensive. What would happen is they would turn a corner and they would shift down from fourth into third. Well, what happens when you shift down? The RPMs go up. So they'd shift down from fourth to third as they're turning, put into the third, the turbo would kick in, they'd lose control of the car. It was just, I mean, it was, having experienced I've never driven a 930, but having experienced both the front instability of the 911 with the 3,500 turbo boost of the 944 turbo, I can easily see how that would be a huge problem. Now, obviously they fixed it eventually, but still. What do you drive now? I don't have a car. I'm actually the only one who doesn't have a car. So I just mostly ride along or borrow somebody else's. So let's face it, I don't leave a lot. I consider it to be a really good day if I get to spend pretty much the whole day right here, writing, listening to music, working, etc. Sam Freeman sends a super chat. Thank you, Sam. Glad to hear you are done with A Skull of Thrones. More Doomlord, please. Faster would be better. Actually, the issue there is Anthony's just busy. He's busy with Sister Suprema. He's busy with another project. He'll come back to How to Succeed Like a Dark Lord when he can. We both enjoy doing it. Is Space Bunny's Mustang a stick shift? Yes. Any thoughts on the ethical skeptic? None whatsoever. I've never heard of the ethical skeptic. Not a Peterbilt. I don't know what that means. Are Mustangs only for girls? No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm really not a snob when it comes to cars. You know, I enjoy, a nice BMW sedan. I enjoy I do really like convertibles as a general rule. You know, if I had need of a car and I wanted to buy a car, something like an old Z4 would probably be my style. A Z4 or a Z3. You know, I really liked my old MG. I really regret having sold my slightly souped up 77 MGB. I should have kept it. The new VW Bug is only for women. Yeah, I mean, there are cars that certainly seem to suit women better. I don't, I had a friend, a tall 6'4" Australian friend, very successful guy, private banker, and he drove a black VW Bug, the new one. It was like back when they first came out, the new Bugs. And I will admit he looked kind of ridiculous. I will also admit that that car had the worst dashboard I'd ever seen. Sam says, my dislike of white wine is adorably provincial. Actually, the funny thing is we live in white wine country. And I really kind of preferred red wine country, to be honest. Have you ever had a motorcycle? Yes. I've had one and only one motorcycle. It was a Suzuki 750. That's correct. My first motorcycle was a Suzuki 750. And that was way, way more motorcycle than anyone who's just learning how to ride a bike should ever have. It was heavy. It was powerful. I suppose it was fast. Not that I ever drove it that way. But yeah, my parents were quite rightly not happy at all with it. And the thing I didn't realize, and the reason I got rid of it promptly, was because I didn't know, because I'd only driven cars, I didn't realize that when you cross lanes, that the bike goes like that, because in a lot of highways there's a little seam in between each lane. It's not something that you ever notice in a car, but I just hated that feeling. I hated that instability. And so anyhow, I drove it on and off for a summer, and then just gave it to a friend. The other reason I got rid of it was there was a guy from my gym, really strong, really good shape, very, very fit, maybe about 10 years older than me. And he got killed in pulling into a mall parking lot while he was driving 25 miles an hour. And a grandmother in a old Lincoln just didn't see him and pulled out, and he drove right into her, and that was that. And I thought, I was pretty heavily involved in martial arts at the time, and I thought anything that allows me to get killed by a 70-year-old woman at 25 miles an hour is just too stupid for me. You know, I understand the appeal. It was fun. I felt pretty cool driving it. But I realized I just don't enjoy it that much. You know, give me. I mean, the pleasure I got from that compared to how much I enjoyed driving my MG or my Porsche just wasn't even close. So, um, and I do tend to now discourage young guys from driving motorcycles just because, or even scooters, just because I've personally, been the first one on the scene. I think 3 times here in Switzerland when somebody's been hit on either a scooter or a motorcycle. Actually, I've been there 3 times, and then there was a really bad one pretty close to our house. I mean, it was so loud that it I couldn't believe the guy survived. Um, so it's just uh, I just don't think it's a reasonable risk to take, in my opinion. Um, Catastrophe says, gently asking, where are the Booster Patrol shirts for backers? That's a good question. Unfortunately, the gentleman who did all of our shirts is no longer with us, and so we need to look into that. So, Sam Freeman has another super chat. Thank you, Sam. He says, how many guardian angels have you sent to therapy? Um, a lot, you know. Um, you know, it's when you get to my age, and I'm 55, you really begin to understand how fortunate you are to get to that point. Because you look back and you see, you know, all of the all of those who didn't have that chance, who didn't make it that far. And, you know,